giving you brief idea about the experiments and the way how we are going to perform those experiments, right? So let me show you the list of experiments. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the list, experiment list is visible, is it? Yes. Whether the list is visible, experiment list?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we are having 14 experiments. Total 14 experiments. Those have been designed. So we are going to begin with drawing the ER model. Then converting the ER model into the relational schema. Then, as I mentioned earlier also, we are going to make use of Oracle to implement our relational schema, right? So we are having one experiment to install the database management system, and actually we are making use of Oracle Express Edition 10G, right? Then experiment number 4 will actually give you the idea how to create the database schema. Right? So experiment number 4 deals with data definition language. So whatever schema, relational schema that we have designed, that we are supposed to implement, we need to create practically the relational schema using Oracle. Once the schema is ready with us practically, the 5th experiment will give us the insight about how to implement the DML statements like insert statement, update statement, and delete statement. So these are the statements, those will help us to insert the data, to modify the data into the tables, and also to delete the data from the tables. So these statements we are going to study and implement in experiment number 5. Experiment number 6, 7, and 8. Experiment number 6, 7, and 8. Those are completely dedicated to the SQL statement select. There are lots of different constructs for SQL statement select. And select statement is being used to retrieve the data stored in the database. So extensively we are going to study and we are going to make use of all such constructs of select statement. Obviously everything we are going to cover in our theory classes, and whatever we discuss in theory classes, actually that you are supposed to implement in the lab sessions, right? So 6, 7, and 8, these 3 experiments are meant for select statement implementation, study and implementation of select statement, right, for extracting the data from the database. Experiment number 9 is meant for studying the concept of triggers and implementing triggers. I'm not going into the details of any of the experiments right now, okay? But this 9th experiment is really very interesting, wherein you'll see how some tasks can be automatically performed by making use of triggers, right? Then in experiment number 10, you'll learn how to write functions and stored procedures in database management system, right? So study and implementation of functions and stored procedures is the experiment number 10. Experiment number 11 will allow you to connect with your database management system from some programming language. So here simply we are going to make use of Java as the front end and will be establishing the connection with the database that we have created, and will write simple codes to manipulate the data or to retrieve the data. So that is experiment number 11. In experiment number 12, you will be provided with some insight about some statements that will help us to grant the authorization to different kinds of users. So you will be able to learn how to create the users, how to manage the users, right? How to grant the permissions to the users, how to revoke the privileges from the users, and every aspect of authorization. Okay, so that is experiment number 12. In experiment number 13, you will be exploring the concept of indices. So how to create index. We are not going into the depth in this particular experiment, but you'll get the insight how to create the index so that we can expedite the search. We can expedite the way how we are extracting the information from the tables, right? Also, in this experiment, we are having one more subpart. You'll be able to implement static hashing. You must have studied static hashing earlier in data structures, right? So static hashing, in fact, hashing is being used in database management systems. So in this experiment number 13, you'll be implementing one such static hashing algorithm, right? And finally, in experiment number 14, you'll study the transaction processing and concurrency control techniques. So you'll be provided with some simple tasks, and this is a study experiment. So you'll be asked to perform simple tasks. So you are supposed to implement those tasks, and whatever is your observation, you need to write that observation along with the reason why it happened, right? So this is how we are going to perform all these 14 experiments, right? Also, I would like to tell you that whenever we are going for all those 14 experiments, our strategy would be like, you will be provided with one problem statement. So every batch will be having one problem statement, real world problem statement. So beginning from the experiment number 1 onwards, we are going to make use of the same problem statement, same real world problem statement. Say for example, if it is university schema, all the experiments will be based on that schema. If it is related to some enterprise, then all the experiments will be based on whatever problem statement is provided for that enterprise. So ER model you will draw for the same problem statement. After drawing the ER diagram, you will convert the same ER diagram into the relational schema. Once the relational schema is ready, you will implement the same relational schema in Oracle, right? You will input data in that relational schema. You will perform the queries on the same relational schema. You will perform triggers, functions, stored procedures with the same relational schema. So throughout all those 14 experiments, we'll be making use of one single problem statement. And this is how you will get a feeling that you have developed almost entire database application, right? We are not bothered right now about the building of the front end, but the backend database design we are most concerned with. So you'll be having the flavor how actually the database is being designed, right, for a given particular application. So this is how we are going to progress during these laboratory sessions, right? If you have any doubts, please let me know. Have you understood the way how we are going to work? Yes? Have you understood the flow that we have and how we are going to work with this laboratory sessions? Yes or no? Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So have you understood what we are going to follow in this laboratory sessions?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes
Yes,
or no?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I believe that almost 70 to 80% students from your class are having laptops or desktops. Am I clear? Or whether am I correct? According to my knowledge, almost 70 to 80% of the students from your class are having their own laptops or desktops. Am I correct? Yes,
Yes,
or no?
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you are able to work with the assignments, right? Correct? So if we give you the assignments during the week's period, you are supposed to come up with the solutions for those assignments, right? And in case if you have any kinds of doubts, so you are supposed to report to your batch teacher or me. Okay, so let's begin with one simple demonstration today. So we are going to begin with our very first experiment, and that is study of ER model and drawing ER diagram for a given problem statement of an enterprise. So you will be provided with a real world problem statement, as I mentioned, and in the first experiment you are expected to draw the ER model. Few of the concepts with respect to ER diagram we have covered today itself. In coming two sessions also we are going to cover few more concepts related to ER diagram. So you need to make use of all those concepts, and for given problem statement you need to draw the ER diagram. Okay, to begin with I am going to demonstrate you one problem statement and how we should think while drawing the ER diagram. So that is what we are going to do today. Okay, so as I have instructed already, we are going to make use of one software Dia to draw the ER diagrams. Those who are not having access to laptop or desktop, they may draw the ER model or ER diagram, right, by hand on paper. There is no problem. Okay, so for experiment number 1 and experiment number 2, even though you are not having laptop or desktop with you, there will not be any problem. You may work on paper. You may draw the ER diagram using paper and pen. You may draw the relational schema using pen and paper. So no problem, right? But everybody should come up with the solution for the given problem. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are going to make use of Dia, that is a software, open source software for drawing the diagrams. Okay, so I don't know whether you have downloaded that software or not, but simply what you can do is you may search in Google as Dia software and you will be getting this link, Dia installer. So just click on this and whichever is your operating system, accordingly download the version available for Dia. Right? So Dia is a diagram editor. So we are going to draw the diagrams, ER diagrams, by making use of this software. Right? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so all are advised to download this software and install this software. Okay, fine. Now, as I mentioned, we are going to discuss one problem statement today, and we will see how to draw the ER diagram. So this is the problem statement. Just read the problem statement. So consider the design of a database for the management of grants. Each grant is identified by a unique grant ID, a title, the funding source of the grant, the period, starting date and ending date, and the amount of grant. Each grant might be participated by several professors, and each professor might also participate in several grants. Each professor is identified by a unique ID, name, and email address. In addition, several graduate students might be supported by a grant as GRAs, although each student can be supported by at most one grant. Each graduate student has exactly one professor as his or her advisor. Draw an ER model. So this is what the problem statement is. Right? And if such kind of a problem statement is given, we are supposed to draw the ER diagram. Because further we would like to go for the relational database for this particular need of the organization. So, after reading this problem statement, what we should do first? As we are concerned with ER model, given a problem statement, first of all, we need to identify which are the entities, possible entities, and which are the possible relationships between the entities. Are you getting me?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Yes.
what I said, given a problem statement, first of all, we need to come up with the entities and the relationships, possible entities and possible relationships. Right? And further, if you thoroughly read the problem statement, there are certain constraints also, those are mentioned. Do you agree with me? Have you found any constraints? Those are provided in this statement. Yes or no? Are there any constraints in this statement? Read this statement once again. Is it possible to identify the entity sets, relationship sets, and the constraints? Yes? Anybody?
Yes, ma'am.
So can you tell me is the entity set here in this problem statement? If you look at this problem statement, can we identify the entity sets? Possible entity sets.
Grant and professor.
Grant. Okay, grant. And professor.
Professors.
Okay. Good that you have identified at least two. Anything else?
Student.
Graduate students.
Graduate student. Yes, student. Okay, yes. So this might be the entity set, right? Anything else? Then what are the relationships that we may have?
Advisor.
And which advisor? Yes, advisor is the relationship, correct? Anything else? Advisor is the relationship between
Professors and students.
Professor and student.
professors and students. Okay, yes. What else? What else? Nothing?
GRA.
GRA is actually the student. GRA means graduate research assistant. So students can work as GRAs, that is the graduate research assistant. See, first thing is, whenever such kind of a problem statement is provided, right, we need to understand the problem statement, their need. This is the need of some organization, research organization. Maybe this is the need of our college, right? And the college is getting the grants under various schemes from different funding agencies or funding sources. For example, AICTE, DST, UGC, these are few of the funding agencies. Those are university, Shivaji University, these are the funding agencies. So they are actually giving us the funds to carry out some research, right? So this grant is meant for carrying out some research. So funding agencies are actually providing us some amount as a grant. Okay, so you have correctly identified grant as one of the entity sets. Also, it has been mentioned in the problem statement that each grant is identified by a unique grant ID, a title, the funding source of the grant, the period, and the amount of grant. So whatever is this description, if we try to understand what it is, these are actually the attributes for this entity set grant. Do you agree with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So this is how we need to identify that this is the entity set and these are the possible attributes. What next? It has been mentioned. Each grant might be participated by several professors and each professor might also participate in several grants. What this statement indicates? See, if the research grant is being provided, then obviously that grant is being utilized by few of the professors. So every grant is associated with some professors. Is that correct? So you rightly identified that professor should be the entity. Okay, but in between grant and professor, we must have some relationship, because it is mentioned here, each grant might be participated by several professors. So grant is related with professors and each professor might also participate in several grants. So obviously there should be a relationship between grant and professor. And whatever this statement is, this actually is giving us some insight about the mapping cardinality for this relationship. Do you agree with me? It is clearly mentioned here, na? Each grant might be participated by several professors and each professor might also participate in several grants. Right? So this statement clearly indicates that these two entity sets are related. Right? And also it is giving us some insight about the mapping cardinality between the relationship in these two entity sets. Correct? Further, as we have identified this professor as the entity set, in this problem statement, the next statement says, or this next statement tells us about the attributes for this entity set professor. So it is mentioned here. Each professor is identified by a unique ID, name and email address. Right? So these are the properties of this professor. Right? So we may treat these as the attributes for the entity set professor. Right? Next, what is mentioned in the next statement? In addition, several graduate students might be supported by a grant as GRAs, although each student can be supported by at most one grant. So, what this indicates? This indicates that student would be one entity and students are also allowed, or they are also supported by the grant. So obviously we should have a relationship between grant and student, because students are supported by the grants. Right? So student would be the entity set, and in between student and grant we may have a relationship. Right? And for that relationship, here if we carefully read the problem statement, we once again find a constraint. Each student can be supported by at most one grant. So what it indicates? Each student can have or can work on only one project, one grant. Grant is nothing but, or grant is meant for a project. So every student at most can work on only one grant, means only one project. Right? So this is the condition, that is the constraint that has been provided. Okay? And what else? Each graduate student has exactly one professor as his or her advisor. So this is once again narrating that we should have a relationship between professor and student. Right? So after reading this problem statement, we should gain such kind of information out of this. We should identify what are the possible entity sets, what are the possible relationships, what are the possible attributes, and what are the mapping cardinalities. Those we should impose. So everything is given in the problem statement. Only thing is we need to understand the problem statement and we need to extract the important things to draw the ER model. Okay, now one more important point, I'm going to discuss it later, but let me tell you here, funding agency is also been, or funding source is mentioned. So you may think of that this funding source of the grant is the attribute for this entity set grant. That is all right. We may have funding source as one of the attributes for the grant, but also it is possible that we may consider this funding source as the separate entity set. And I'll tell you what is the reason behind. Okay, just wait for some time. I'm coming to that point. But after reading this problem statement and after all this explanation regarding the problem statement, I hope you must have understood how to understand the problem statement and how to extract the relevant information from this problem statement. Is there any doubt? Have you understood? Yes?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
What we will say the relationship between grant and professor or grant and student?
Yes. We may name anything, right? It is up to us to name the relationship sets. Okay? We are going to look at that. But initially, we should understand that whatever are the relationships and whatever are the entity sets, what are the possible attributes and what are the constraints. Those are being provided in the problem statement. Okay. So let us once again look at the problem statement. So whatever are the red colored words, those are the possible entity sets, and whatever is blue colored words, underlined words, those are possible relationships. So I'm giving you one simple hint how to find out the entity set and how to find out the relationships. Usually, whichever are the nouns, those we find in the problem statement, those are possible candidates for entity sets. And whatever are the words associated with various nouns, those typically are the relationship sets, because these are the actions taken, right? So this is a simple generic hint. Whichever are the nouns, those we identify in the problem statement, those are the possible candidates, right, for entity sets. And whichever are the words, those are related with those nouns, those we may think of the possible relationship sets. Okay. Now we are actually going to work with dia and we are going to draw the ER model, right? So let's open dia. Whether my screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So we have opened dia, right? So whenever you open dia for the first time, here we are having one menu, right? So right now we would like to draw the ER diagrams, and that is why we are selecting here ER. So whenever we select this ER, this option will provide us all the different symbols, those we are going to use while drawing the ER diagram. Okay? Right? So we should select this ER here. Now let us paste our problem statement so that we need not switch over again and again to read the problem statement. Okay, so this is our problem statement, right? So let us keep it aside so that we can refer to this problem statement while drawing the ER diagram. I think it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Okay, fine. Now, what we have identified right now, we have identified that we are having the entity sets grant, funding source, professor and student, right? Few of the attributes are already been mentioned here. If the attributes are not mentioned, we may think of having the relevant attributes for the entity sets, right? And we should also name the relationships in between the entity sets according to some semantics. So I'm going to draw now the ER diagram for this problem statement so that you can gain the insight. Okay, so let us first draw all the entity sets. So here I am having this symbol here for entity, right? So I'll be clicking on that and I'll be putting it here. If I double click on this entity, it will allow me to name my entity set. So what I want grant is the entity set. Okay, so I'll be clicking on OK. So this is my entity set. Okay, similarly, how many entity sets I want? I want 4 entity sets. So let us have these 4 entity sets. I may also copy the earlier entity set and I may change the name. Okay. So let's assume that we are having funding source as one more entity set. Right. So we are having now these 4 entity sets with us. Okay. Now, what next? We may now think of the possible attributes for those entity sets. So once again refer to our problem statement. So what has been mentioned here? Each grant is identified by a unique grant ID. So whenever it is mentioned here, unique grant ID, that means this grant ID is the unique identifier for the grant. And that is why this should be our primary key. Okay, so here is the symbol for the attribute. So let's have the attribute here, and this attribute we may name it like grant ID. And as this is my primary key, right, I may select here. If you look at here, we are having one option key. So click on that so that this will turn to yes. So this is my key. Grant ID is my key. Okay. So if I click on this OK, then I'll be having this grant ID which is underlined, meaning this is my primary key. Are you getting me? Yes? Are you getting me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So this is one attribute. Similarly, how many attributes I may have? Title I may have as the attribute. Okay. The period, that can also be the attribute, right? And the amount of grant, that would be the attribute. So I will have few more attributes. Grant ID. Now this is title. Then see here, in period I am having starting date and ending date. right? So you may think of design of this as the period as my composite attribute, and for period I am having start date and end date as two parts of period. You may think of like this. Start date and end date. Okay, and one more attribute is required, and that is amount. Fine. So now let us place these attributes properly, and then we should have the links. So we are having here now the links. So we need to connect now these attributes to the entity sets with the links. As I mentioned, we may treat this period as the composite attribute with these two parts, start date and end date. Right? So we are done with this entity set grant. So grant is the entity set with these many attributes. Grant ID is the primary key. Correct? Is there any doubt so far? Yes? Is there any doubt? Please let me know.
Ma'am, how can you join that attribute and entity with the line?
See, here we are having the line option. Correct? So I'll be clicking on that and I'll be having a line. So whichever may be the source and whichever may be the destination, right? If I double click on this line, I'm having here option. I do not want to have the arrow, no? So by default, I'm having the arrow here. So I'll be selecting this option and I'll select the line without arrows. And I'll just simply click on OK. So this will place the line. Okay? Got it? I may select and delete if I do not want. Right? So this is in fact a simple drawing software. So whatever are the notations, we are making use of those notations, right, appropriately, and we are simply drawing it. Okay? You may begin with, actually it is not possible for me to demonstrate by actually drawing it with pen and paper, and that is why initially itself I am making use of this dia, but not necessarily directly you go with dia. You use paper and pen and you draw this ER diagram manually first with hand using pen and paper, and then you may go with this dia right? To have the soft copy of this. So once again, I'll be repeating. For the practicing purpose, it is better that you should use pen and paper to draw the ER diagrams. And afterwards, you may use this dia to systematically organize your ER model. Okay? May I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
we have done with this grant. Okay? Now, as I mentioned, instead of having this funding source as the attribute of the grant, right? I have selected to use this funding source as a different entity set. Somebody may use funding source as the attribute for the grant. That is perfectly all right. But as far as the design is considered, the most appropriate design would be having funding source as the different entity set. And I'm going to tell you the reason for that. Okay? So what might be the reason why I'm having this separate entity set? So instead of using funding source as the attribute for this grant, I'm having new entity set for that. And now I'm going to have few of the attributes for this funding source as well. Those are not being provided in my problem statement. Okay. Now, if I go with funding source as the attribute for the grant, what will happen? If I go with funding source as the attribute for the grant, what will happen? Ultimately, what I'm going to store in this schema? Grant would be one of my tables. Every grant is having grant ID, some title for the project, amount sanctioned, start date and end date. Along with that, if I consider one attribute, that is funding agency. So the user needs to type which is the funding agency, right? So funding agency might be AICTE, might be some UGC or DST, right? Or CERB. There are so many funding agencies. So whenever the grant comes in, the user will store the entire name of the funding agency in this entity set itself, right? But that is not advisable. And the reason is, if, say for example, later there is a requirement that I want to extract the grants, those are funded by a particular funding source, right? Or it may also happen that I may need to store some additional information about the funding source. So who is the contact person, whatever is the email ID of the funding agency, right? Name of the funding agency, email ID of the funding agency. I may need to communicate with the funding agency, right? So I need to store the address of the funding agency, right? So lots of details I need to store for funding agency also, right? So if I go with one simple attribute as funding agency for the grant, all those kinds of requirements, those I'm looking at, those may not be fulfilled. And that is why instead of having funding source as the attribute for grant, I will prefer to use funding source as separate entity set with its own attributes. So what are the attributes now for funding source? See, obviously, if I'm creating any such entity set, I need to have one primary key. Okay? There are certain entity sets without primary keys, but we are not going to discuss about those entity sets right now. So right now, just think of that if we are having the entity set, we should have some primary key for that. So for funding source, I may have the code agency, and that is my primary key. So I'll be having this attribute code that will be treated as the primary key for my funding source or funding agency. What else? I need to store name of the funding agency as well. So I'll be having name of the funding agency. Okay, I may need to store address of the funding agency. Okay, so I'll be storing address. Now, address may have some parts associated. So I may have this as the composite attribute. So I may say that this is it. City and so on. Even I may have the postal code. Okay, I may have email ID. So funding source, email ID. What else? I may have the phone number. Now, I may have multiple phone numbers, right? So if I want to make this attribute as the multi-valued attribute, I will just be clicking here, yes. So phone number is the multi-valued attribute and I'll click on OK. Right? So just look at it. Here we are having now double ellipse, that is meant for multi-valued attribute. Okay. Now enough attributes we are having now for the funding source. So simply we are going to connect all those attributes with the respective entity set. Okay. Name of the funding source. Then I'll be having address of the funding source and we are having subparts for this address. Address is being treated as the composite one. So we are having here the parts of this address. That is postal code, city, and street. These are the subparts of my address. So address is now composite. What else we are having? We are having email ID of the funding source. So this is one more attribute. And we are having phone number also, which is a multi-valued attribute. So we have designated phone number as the multi-valued attribute. Okay. Right. So we have done with these two entity sets. Now, every grant is funded by the funding source. So as we are having this separate entity set, what we should have is, we should have the relationship between grant and funding source, right? So here is the symbol for relationship. I'll be putting the relationship here between the grant and the funding source. Okay, so once again I need to connect this entity set with the relationship set. and this with fine. Right? So in this, between grant and funding source, we are having this relationship. So now we would like to name this relationship. So I would suggest to follow this convention. It is not mandatory that we should have this convention, but I'm going to suggest you that we should use the convention just to understand which relationship lies in between which entity sets. So let us name this relationship as grant fund underscore funding source. So if I name this relationship as grant underscore funding source FS, this indicates, or it would be easier for me to understand that this relationship is in between entity sets grant and funding source, right? So this is the convention that I would recommend you to follow. Are you getting me? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts? See, this is really very important, and all of you will be getting one problem statement, and for that problem statement you are supposed to come up with the ER diagram, and that is why you should understand those concepts. If you have any kind of doubt, please let me know. Yes, any doubt? Roll number 326, Vaishnavi. Roll number 326. Vaishnavi, are you there? Roll number 325, Pratik. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any doubt?
No, ma'am.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Fine. So this is how we have drawn this relationship between grant and funding source. Now, let us think of the cardinality, mapping cardinality for this relationship. So we need to find out whether this relationship is one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, or many-to-many. What do you think? What kind of relationship this is from grant to funding source? Anybody who can answer? What would be the mapping cardinality for this grant FS relationship? Yes? Any guesses? Whether it should be one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, or many-to-many?
Many to one.
Many-to-one from? Many-to-one from grant to funding source?
Yes.
Yes, very true, very good. It is correct. So this relationship should be many to one. Why it is many to one? See, one grant is associated with at most one funding source. One grant is associated with one funding source. It is not the case that more than one funding agencies are funding one project, one grant. Usually this is not the case. So if there is one grant, then that grant is funded by only one funding agency, right? So every grant is associated with only one funding agency. So towards funding agency, it should be one. But it may happen that one funding agency or one funding source may grant more than one projects. So we may have more than one grants from one funding agency, one funding source. But one grant is associated with exactly one funding source. Right? And that is why what we should have here, we should have many to one. So here left cardinality for this relationship is many, right? And towards right side, right cardinality is one. So here it is many, here it is one. Do you agree with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So this is one way of denoting it. In other case, how we can draw this? Towards one, we may have the arrow. Correct? So this is my many side and this is my one side. Right? So I may either use the arrow kind of a system or I may put here the cardinality and one, many to one. Okay? Fine. So I hope you must have understood this. Now let us proceed with this professor. So once again for professor, we should have some primary key. Okay? So let us have the primary key for professor as PID. For student also we need to have the primary key as the attribute. So let us assume that student is having SID, which is the primary key. Okay. What other attributes we may require for professor? We may have name. For student also we need to have name. So name of the professor. Also we should have name for the student. What else? We also need to have the address, the contact details, right? So we may add in the phone number for both, assuming more than one phone numbers. We are making it as the multi-valued attribute. Okay. Further, we may have email ID. So this is professor email ID. So accordingly, I am naming it. Similarly, I'll be having the student ID, student email ID. So accordingly, I'll name it as S email ID. So just follow the naming conventions. These are not mandatory, but to understand it better, we should have some relevant names. Also, we may add in the addresses for the students. This name can further be made as the composite attribute. So name may have first name, middle name and surname. Right? This name also can be partitioned into three parts. First name, middle initial and the last name. Right? So I'm not having right now, I will not have those as the composite attributes, but actually while you design it, you should think of making the name as the composite attribute. Right? for the interest of time, I'm not actually using or I'm not making it composite because it will once again take some time to draw it, and that is why just I'm mentioning that name should be treated as the composite attribute. So whatever are the required attributes, actually we should have those many attributes for the entity set. So attributes are actually storing the information that is required with respect to that particular entity. Got it? Now, let us talk about now the relationships. So, what is mentioned in the problem statement? It is mentioned in the problem statement like each grant might be participated by several professors and each professor might also participate in several grants. So, we should have a relationship between grant and professor, right? So, we are having here the relationship between grant and professor. Now, once we have drawn this relationship, we need to name this. So let's once again follow our strategy, grant underscore professor. That would be the name for the relationship. Now we need to think of the cardinality, correct? So cardinality, what would be the cardinality? What is mentioned here? Each grant might be participated by several professors, meaning associated with one grant, many professors may work. Also, each professor might also participate in several grants. So, one professor can work with several grants and one grant is associated with several professors. So, obviously, this relationship should be many to many, right? So, here we may provide the cardinality like NN. But see here, it is left cardinality and right cardinality. Meaning, if I click on OK, I am having here NN. But actually, I am having the connection here upwards. So what I need to do is, I can rotate it. So that now I am having the cardinality that is depicted on these two ends. So this relationship is now end to end, many to many. Correct? Is there any doubt? Is there any doubt? Have you understood, all of you?
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
clarification required? Any clarification required? Yes. May I proceed with the next?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So let us try to complete this problem statement. So it has been mentioned here next. What has been mentioned? So we have done with this. Professor is having unique ID. Yes. And this is the primary key. Sorry, this is not the primary key. This is email ID. Okay. So this is the primary key that we have already mentioned. Then we are having name and email address. Right now, it has been mentioned that several graduate students might be supported by a grant as GRAs, although each student can be supported by at most one grant. So obviously, we should have a relationship now between student and grant. Okay, so let's have that relationship here. So we are having now the relationship between grant and student. So once again, let us use the convention grant underscore student. Okay. So this is our relationship now. Let us remove those arrows. What about the cardinality now for this relationship? Yes. What would be the cardinality for the relationship? Yes. One grant may be associated with many number of students, but one student will work on only one grant, at the most one grant. Correct, na? One grant may be associated with more than one students, right? But one student is associated with at most one grant, at most one grant. So obviously, if we look at this cardinality, what I should have? For one grant, I may have many number of students working on that. But for one student, at most one grant is allowed. Right? Here it has been mentioned, each student can be supported by at most one grant. So for one student, at most one grant is allowed. So from grant to student, this grant stud relationship is one to many relationship. Correct? Are you getting me?
Yes, ma'am.
And finally, we are having one more relationship, that is advisor. And this relationship is between student and professor. So I may need to shift this entire structure so that I can accommodate. So see here, we may adjust according to the space, we may adjust our design. Okay. So in between student and professor, I am having this relationship set advisor, right? And I may connect these two now. Okay. So what has been mentioned, each graduate student has exactly one professor as his or her advisor. So each graduate student is associated with exactly one professor. But one professor may advise more than one student. So once again, this relationship should be one to many. One student is advised by exactly one professor, but one professor may advise many number of students. Is that correct? Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is how we have drawn the entire ER diagram. Now, what has remained is participation constraints. So what are the participation constraints? Participation constraints means whether the entity set is having total participation in the relationship set, or whether the entity set is having partial participation in the entity set, in the relationship set. So let us, how many relationships we have identified now? 1, 2, 3 and 4. So let us think of the participation constraint. So every grant must be associated with the funding source. So grant must participate in this relationship set grant FS. So this participation must be total. So here I am having the symbol for participation. So I'll just be clicking on that and I'll be drawing. Total participation, yes. Okay. So I'm having this total participation. So grant is having total participation in this relationship, that is grant FS. Okay. Now, what about this grant professor? See, every grant must be associated with at least one professor. So every grant must be having at least one professor associated, and that is why this participation is also the total participation. Okay, and that is why we may draw this participation as the total participation. Okay, so participation of grant in grant professor is total. So every grant must be associated with at least one professor, but not necessarily every professor is having the grant. Few of the professors must be having the grant. Here in this advisor relationship, total participation is towards this side. So every student, it is mentioned, each graduate student has exactly one professor working as advisor. So every student is associated with exactly one professor. So every student must participate in this relationship, and that is why once again we'll be having this relationship as the total participation, or student is participating totally in this relationship advisor. So this is total participation. Correct? Fine. Now, what about this grant student? Every grant may have the students working on that, and every student might be associated with the grant. So nothing like total participation. Both the entity sets are partially participating. Few of the grants might be having the students, few of the students might be working with the grant, right? So there is no total participation here. Correct? So this is how we have drawn this ER diagram. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Yes. Any doubts? May I ask Pranali, roll number 353.
Yes, ma'am.
Pranali, have you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So how we have considered total participation? Have you understood the concept?
Yes, ma'am.
So why we are saying that grant is having total participation in grant professor relationship? Why this is total?
Because every grant is must have at least one
Professor.
professor.
Yes, very good. Correct. Fine. May I ask now Saurabh, roll number 361. Saurabh, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood whatever we have drawn?
Yes, ma'am.
So will you please tell me why this grant FS relationship is having the cardinality many to one from grant to funding source?
Because every grant has at least one grant funding source.
Okay.
That's,
And
that's, that's why we have added total participant.
no, that is okay. Total participation. I am asking you about the mapping cardinality for this relationship grant FS. Why it is many to one? We said that it is many to one, na?
Because funding source may not have to you give multiple funding on projects, multiple giving project, but not multiple universities. Main one university.
No, no, no. One grant can be funded by one funding source, and one funding source may provide many grants. One funding source may provide many grants, but associated with every grant, there is only one funding source. A particular grant has one funding source, but one funding source may fund more than one grants. That is why it is many to one from grant to funding source. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll ask one more person. Roll number 350, Prathamesh, 350. Prathamesh, are you there? Prathamesh Magdum.
Hello.
Yes. Have you understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So is it possible for you, given a problem statement, is it possible for you to draw such kind of ER diagram?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay. So will you please tell me what kind of attribute this is? Phone number?
Which number, ma'am?
Phone number. what kind of attribute it is? We have depicted here na phone number.
Multi-value.
Multi-valued attribute. Yes. So it may happen that the funding source may have more than one phone numbers that we would like to store. And that is why we have shown here phone number as multi-valued attribute. Fine. So I hope you must have understood now how the preliminary ER diagram can be drawn. So we have tried to draw the ER diagram for a simple problem statement. We are not having much complexities in this problem statement, right? But you may have more complex problem statements. And for those complex problem statements, we need to think of few more possible concepts. Those can be introduced, right? So based on whatever we have learned about ER diagram, we have tried to draw a complete ER diagram for the given problem statement, right? So I'm going to give you some assignments, right? And for those assignments, you are supposed to come up with the ER diagram. And as I stated, every batch will get one problem statement for which they need to draw the ER diagram. And the same ER diagram we are going to use for all the problem statements, all the experiments, those we are going to perform. Okay, so I'm giving you one assignment today to draw the ER diagram. So whatever we have studied so far, you are supposed to make use of that knowledge and you need to draw such kind of ER diagram. Right? I'll be posting the assignment on Google Classroom. If you have any doubts, please let me know. Otherwise, we are going to conclude this session. Yes? Have you enjoyed whatever we have done today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is how you actually need to perform with respect to whatever problem statement you may have. Okay?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, will you tell me how you have designed a multi-valued entity? I am not able to design. I'm trying, but not able.
Multi-valued attribute.
Yes, yes.
See, simply draw the attribute. So this
Yes,
is the
ma'am.
attribute. And if I want to make this as multi-valued, just double click on this and select this multi-value. So if I click here, it will be yes now. So multi-value, yes. So click on OK. So it will be converted to multi-valued attribute.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? If you want to have a derived attribute, then simply what you can do, you can click on derived. Yes. And you'll see the dashed oval, dashed ellipse. So this is meant for derived attribute. We are not having, in this scenario, we are not having the derived attribute. Okay? But you may have.
Okay, ma'am.
Fine. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Fine. So I would appeal all of you to use pen and paper also to draw the ER diagrams. It is really very interesting to do that. Okay? And then you go with dia to come up with such kind of ER diagram. Okay? You may save this ER diagram in the form of JPG file. So whenever you will be asked for submission, what you can do is you can just convert this file in dia to JPG file and then you can upload it. Okay? Fine. So let's conclude the session. If you have any doubts, please let me know. No doubts? May I conclude now? Yes? Okay, fine.
Yes.
Fine. Thank you.